Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TR podcast, episode 2. And the title is When Life Happens. I'm your host, Terrance Rajah, an insurance advisor by profession, and who owns Agape Life Inc. is the insurance brokerage that I own. Today, our guest here is Banushan Suresh, a Bachelor of Business Administration from University of Toronto. He graduated in June. He entered the workforce in the middle of global pandemic, and we are going to hear from him how he perceives the future, the start that he has had when everything was crashing around us. He's an achiever, and I'm sure he will be able to shed some light how the younger generation looks at life, which many of us are clueless. Welcome to the show,
Thank you.
Banushan.
First off, I want to say thanks for having me on the podcast. I feel very honored. And I think it's important to see from a younger generation's perspective what their take is on the future and where they think the future is going, right? That could be in terms of their career or the knowledge that they build, their family life, their friends, all that. I think it's really crucial to see, what your kids are doing, what their passion is, and to really pursue that passion. And I think in my experience or my career growing up, I've had that opportunity to really go after my passion. Let that be what I want to do in school or what it could be work related. I still don't know what I want to do for the next 40 years of my job, but I'm on that path to really figuring out, what am I interested in? What are my passions? What are my goals? Where are my challenges? So these are all things that, from the younger generation, it might be really different from what your parents experience, right? There's a big age gap. So it's really important to see, from a father's perspective or even from a child's perspective to close in onto that gap. And I think it just becomes a better relationship with your family members, your friends, when you're able to speak about that with them.
I think you covered everything in what we are going to talk. So I just want to straight away, before I get into one thing, I want to ask you was how life is generally in these days, and before pandemic and after, how do you spend your free time other than work?
Yeah. So it's been a little bit of craziness for sure. Unfortunately for me, I graduated just when this pandemic hit. So I never even got a graduation. And you know how hard it is to spend 4 or 5 years in university and not even get a graduation, right? You just get a piece of paper.
I know.
So that was my experience. And I started working in June as well. So again, working from home, you wake up, you're at your desk. And then for me, I'm a big gamer. So I love to spend time gaming. So wake up, sit on the computer, work, sit back on the computer, play games, and then go to sleep and repeat, right? So that's really been the lifestyle so far. Cases are going up, so it's been really hard to see friends, family.
Prior to the global pandemic and when you were studying,
Yeah.
other than your studies, what was your hobbies like? Where time was going?
Yeah, so for me, it was really important for me to keep myself busy. I never liked being bored. So while I was in school, I took on part-time jobs. I'm a gamer. I used to work out a lot. So there's a lot of things going on, which also affected my school life. But then for me, it's like, if I'm not keeping myself busy, I'll get really bored. So for me, a part of it is, what can I do to keep myself busy throughout the day? And I'm not just sitting at home. So that change because of COVID has been so substantial for me. I'm finding it really, really difficult
For many of us.
just being at home.
See, I want to, in our conversation, I just want to directly hit the spot which really caught my eye.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the main reason that why you were picked among many people that I might have shortlisted to have in this show. I saw in your LinkedIn one day where you had said that almost $50,000-$60,000 your student debt.
Yeah.
You have zeroed in that you have paid off.
Paid off.
I think we all know that we don't wake up one day and say that, we are debt free.
Yeah.
Especially when someone like you who has from high school, I believe in 2015 you entered university,
Yes.
right? So from 2015 to till middle of 2020, that also through a global pandemic.
Yeah.
You are in studies. Then you get into a full-time job where you just embarked on your working career.
Yeah.
So you don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, guys, I'm debt free. I've paid off
For sure.
$50,000-$60,000 loan. It's not a dream.
Yeah.
This is something happened in reality. And I'm sure, and many of us would agree, it did not happen overnight. There was some planning into it. There was some thought process. There were a lot of sacrifices made.
For sure.
There's a lot of discipline required for someone at the age of 24 to come out and pay off $50,000 loan. So before we get into the rest of it, I want to hit this bullet point where I want to know, how did you set about? Because it's a very, very important phase for many of your colleagues.
Yeah.
Children all over, children who are in high school, children who are in elementary,
Yeah.
children who are just in university.
Yeah.
For all those who are carrying this burden of student debt, who may or who have, it's a burden where they have to come out paying it.
Yeah.
And we live in a world where it's a credit world. We love to, even if we have money, it's a tendency that we don't want to pay the credit cards.
Yeah.
We want to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Today with this pandemic, government is giving loans and all
grants,
these monthly. Everybody wants to take that.
Yeah.
So it's a credit world. So to have a mindset to go out and pay this money and come out debt free it's a really an achievement. And it's a lesson for so many. But that lesson, again, as I said, did not come from you just overnight.
Yeah.
You didn't wake up and tell the world that you're debt free.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work into it. So can you, in our conversation, let me know like how you set about that? When did you think that it has to come that way? I'm sure at one point you realized that you definitely need this financial aid to complete your studies. But then from that point onwards, how did you plan yourself? What sacrifices, discipline, commitment that was all put in for you to, by the time you just entered your working career in middle of June, you're come out having paid off everything.
Yeah. So, of course, it's been a long journey. And for me, I think the starting point was when I was about maybe 17 years old, 18 years old. I got my first job at Tim Hortons. And, I come from not such a big class background. We're a normal middle class. My parents work very hard. And I've seen that growing up all my life. So for me, I think the first responsibility I took on is every single dollar I spend, I want this to come from my work, my hard work, regardless what that job is. So that started from Tim Hortons when I was making minimum wage, right? I'll never let my parents take over at my expenses. So in a sense, I was building that financial responsibility without me even knowing. And then from there, I worked really hard to move on to my next job, which was at Rogers, doing sales. And I think the biggest challenge there, which a lot of youngsters face, is when you start making money, you don't know what to do with it. You start to splurge. You don't have any financial education. They don't teach you that in elementary school. So what do?
Not even in university, I think, right?
Not even in university,
Yes,
right?
agree.
So that's a big problem in our age right now, right? People don't know what to do when they have such a big source of income. And I had the same issue as well. I was going from making minimum wage to almost a full-time salary. So again, I was splurging money, no money management whatsoever. But then I realized, this is my background. My school is going to cost me this much. What do I want to do in the future? Do I want to buy a house? Do I want to have a car? For me, that mentality was always that whatever I buy has to come from my paycheck, from my account, not my parents, no one else. I don't want a loan. None of that. So again, it was me saving without me even knowing. But then when I really took it into my control was when I stopped splurging money. I stopped eating out so much. I started budgeting. How much gas am I spending a week? What are my expenses for the week? I'm not doing no crazy calculations in Excel, but just looking at it from my own perspective, right? How much money am I spending a week on food, on everyday expenses? What are my immediate or emergency expenses? Just looking at stuff like that, and then figuring out, okay, so how much money am I making a week? So it just starts from there, right? You have to take responsibility for yourself to see what are your expenses and go from there. So for me, I knew that I could never let go of a part-time job because I wouldn't be able to afford school otherwise. I went to U of T, so it's almost $50,000-$60,000 in student loan. And I knew that, again, I need to keep myself busy. And maybe if I do part-time work while I'm in school, this is going to help me multitask, be able to do two things at once. So I took on that challenge of, multitasking while I was in school. I obviously suffered a lot from marks. I had to spend extra hours in school. But I think what I gained out of it was a lot of experience that you don't get while you're in school. So I think paying off my tuition was just one really big benefit of working part-time. But the other benefit is I've already had exposure to a lot of industries while I was already in school. I didn't wait for that to finish school and then go on co-ops and internships. So those are two benefits. And to tie back to your point, you say that this didn't happen overnight. It absolutely didn't. The biggest challenge for anyone that's young is that you don't pay rent. You live with your parents, right? So you don't have a lot of expenses, but then you don't know what to do with your money. Do you put it in a checking account? Do you put it in a saving account? How do you invest that money? No one really talks about these things, right? Among my friend groups, we don't talk about this. In school, we don't talk about it. So where do you really go to get that knowledge, right? And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what kind of friends you have. And for me, the friends I built at school, we were always looking at, these are our goals for the future. And this is what we want to do. We want to achieve, right? So it started from my friend circle. And from there, I gained some interest in like stocks, investments. And then I figured out, instead of leaving my money in a saving account, getting 1%, I can put that money into a stock with much higher return. And I'm really young, so I don't have much to lose at this point. So I put money into stocks, and that was another portfolio I was building for myself. So it was just like, part-time is just one source of income. How can I diverse my income flow, right? Now there's so many opportunities. You can do Uber Eats, you can do so many different, you can work from home and make money, right? So for me, it was just like, part-time is just one way of making money, but how can I make that money make money, right? That could be a saving account. Multiply it, exactly. So I think I was really interested in that aspect. And again, all this is because of the background I come from. We're an immigrant family. We came from another country to Canada. My dad worked 2-3 jobs to, keep us going. And I've seen that all growing up. So now it's like, I'm 23. It's my turn to take over and show who's in control, right? And help the family out. And that requires you to be financially independent and responsible. So I think that's where, I started to take control of my own life and my own spendings, and I went from there. And again, not overnight. It took 5-6 years of working part-time all throughout school, every single semester. And I knew the first thing I wanted to do was not buy a car, not buy $1,000 shoes or anything like that. It's to pay off school. Why? Because the government is going to charge you 7% interest after you're done school, right? And I think a lot of people don't really think, what's the interest rate on my loan? What's OSAP going to charge me, right? It's just like you're having fun while you're in school, but reality is when you leave school. That's when real life kicks into play. And for me, I knew that anything I wanted to do must mean I have the student loan behind me. So that's the biggest challenge I took during school.
Don't you feel that, big load from your chest has gone out when you say that, you don't have to pay anything to the government now because the OSAP is paid off?
Yeah, because I can start fresh now.
You can start fresh now.
I can actually start saving money, and I don't have any debt behind me to my name.
It's a beautiful message because it's a lot of things that many don't do.
Yeah.
Maybe there are a lot of people who have done it, but from the group I know, or many of us know, it's something, an achievement that you should be proud of. Especially the way the world is going. It's it's a credit world.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do it. I do it. We all be in that shoes. And but to have that mind and work hard and pay off the debts, and then at the same time graduate and get into this workforce. It shows you have planned yourself, and that's a really a good example for many youngsters,
Yeah,
parents, um, uh, those who are in different walks of life, to understand that this is possible.
for sure.
And we have here Banushan who has achieved that, and I'm really happy to know that this is what you've done, and how you are progressing yourself. When you were in high school,
Yeah.
you might have had different career choices, and we all had.
Yeah.
Did your parents influence you or anything, or today when you had to do this Bachelor of Business Administration, UFT, it was your own path, or it was your marks that led you there, whatever your averages in high
Right.
school? Because of that, you had to choose this program, or this is
Yeah.
what you wanted to do lifelong?
So I think my high school journey was a funny story. I applied to 6 schools. 5 of them were for engineering. I got rejected by all of them, and it ended up my 6th choice. So I guess it was a mix of my parents wanting me to do engineering and me not really knowing what I want to do. And I think the social stigma right now is that, there is an age gap between us and our parents. And I think our parents don't know that there's a whole lot of professions out there, that they don't know.
They don't know, or they want to be safe.
They don't want their child to go into that uncomfortable zone, right?
So that's more of a, like, as a parent,
Yeah.
I disagree that they don't know, but
Okay.
they might know.
They might know.
They
They
know
still don't want it
because
for
I
their
think they're
child.
experienced enough to know the goods and bads,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
they have walked through it.
Yeah.
And but they just want to make sure that the bad that they had to walk through it,
Yeah.
they don't want their children to
Fair
be
enough.
in that.
Yeah.
And it's more of a secure and trying to be safe.
Right.
Whereas again, you can always disagree and argue, but
I still disagree.
whereas you want to be aggressive,
Yeah.
and that's where I think the two worlds collide.
For sure, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. That, and also, like, for example, like, every parent would want their kid to go into like engineering or become a doctor, right? But there's also different walks of fields. When I first told my mom, I want to do a business, she thought I was going to go knocking on people's doors and selling stuff, right? So she didn't really know what business meant. It's a big umbrella term. And I think for me, I really had to show her that, I'm capable of going through school and actually achieving something. No, I didn't go into engineering like you wanted to, but I came out something else, something that I'm passionate about, right? And I think now that they really understand, I finished school, I was able to pay off school, and now I'm working, like, it's the trust that you build, right? You have to really show them. It's really hard when you're 17, 18. Again, you do need guidance from other people, peers, your parents, because you don't really know what you want to do at that time, right? High school, there's so many courses you have to take. So it's really challenging for someone to, this is what I want to do. This is my degree, right? And my story itself, I'm in this program because I got rejected from all the other schools in high school. If I didn't, then I probably wouldn't have, ended up here. I could have had a different path. But for me, it's a failure that led to a success. I could put it that way, right? I don't think I had the marks to go into engineering, and I'm not that smart in math, but I'm definitely a critical thinker, right? And I think that's what pushed me into business, like really analyzing the world and just having an open mind. So again, maybe it's coincidence, or maybe it's just, I was meant to be in this
for
field.
you.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly. But again, every failure is, how you
See,
eventually
talking
reach
about
success.
failures, see, most of the time, a lot of students who don't make it through the first year.
Yeah.
And a lot of students drop out.
For sure.
And I think there's a rating that 4 or 6 out of 10 don't make it through first year.
Yeah.
And also, we are in a world where depression, mental illness,
For sure.
suicide have taken a toll of on a daily basis to all these youngsters who are in university. Sometimes I hear it is even in high school, but more in university. that they just give up in their second year, third year. Sometimes they finish and take their life off, and so sad. And sometimes halfway, then get into depression. They're into mental illness. And I'm sure you might have come across some of your colleagues in that phase, and also you might have heard about it. Do you know what really happens? Why this is a common thing now?
Yeah, so it's a mix of a lot of things, right? For some people, they're just not prepared for school. And for other people, they might not be even satisfying their own passion, right? Maybe they went into that stream for maybe their parents to satisfy someone else. They don't like it. They don't want to be a
So
disappointment.
is peer pressure and parents pressure is
A
part
lot of the
it?
time that's the case. And I have some friends that I know that, have went into depression or close to suicide. And a lot of it is that they don't want to disappoint their family, right? They don't want to be shown as a dropout. And I think we're in an age where you don't even need to go to university to find a good job, right? You can do certificates, you can go to college, but it's again that social stigma. You have to go to a good school. You have to do this degree. Like,
Do you think age is a barrier? Like, it has to be all done into timelines, or
yeah, I
life
think
is-
that's the problem with our generation, right? Like, you have to go to school, then university, then job, then marriage, then how, like, life doesn't work that way, right? Everyone starts at a different door. It's a different journey for everyone, and that could be longer or shorter for everyone. And I think
So it doesn't have to be disciplined that
it's
after
not a
school
linear
you-
line.
You can start off your life at 26 and still be successful.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, like, my personal story, like, I was ready to drop out in first year. I failed 2 courses in school. I was on probation. I was on the verge of getting kicked out. And I was like, what am I going to do? Right. I'm trying to also pay off school. And now I'm like, on academic probation. So my personal experience was like, do I leave UFT? Do I go to an easier school? What do I do? Right. And again, not everyone makes it through that journey, which is why they get depressed from school. There's other social factors, right? Peer pressure, all that stuff. So as a student, there's so much going on, right? It's not just school that the kid has to worry about, what's
See,
going on at
I
home
have
and all
this,
that stuff.
I have in my personal life as well.
Yeah.
I have 2 boys, and they are also like you, but they got into Canada very lately.
Yeah.
So elder one was close to high school when he got in, and the other one was in elementary. But in terms of adapting to this culture and everything was very easy for them, because in the past they have also been in international schools and all that, and so that the English part and everything was okay.
Yeah.
The lifestyle, that was very easy for them to merge. But in terms of having friends and building relationships and all
Right.
that's where they were lacking.
Yeah.
And both of them went into universities in the field of study they wanted, but unfortunately for them, they didn't go past the first year. And I think one of them had exactly your situation. And in your case, you fought through that 2 subjects.
Yeah.
And this guy didn't fight through that 2 subjects. As a parent, you feel disappointed. As you said, you want them to, I was one of them who wanted them to graduate, who wanted
sure.
to get to university, and who wanted to do well in life,
For sure.
earn a lot of money and
Yeah.
all that. But when because I'm in the outside world, my field of industry that I work in, insurance, also takes me to a lot of families, and I meet people on daily basis. This depression and mental illness and suicide and all that, I hear every day. And not only that, into drugs and so many things
Yeah.
are around. But so when I see my boys not in that line, at least they are home.
Exactly.
I see them every day.
Exactly. You see them.
I see them. When I wake up, I see them. When I go to bed, I see them.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and when I feel that they have some passion that they want to pursue, which unfortunately did not come through the university part in their first year.
Which I think is okay.
And now when I see them, like, I see some career set for the younger one. He's 22, and he just started working, and now he's planning his own studies.
Yeah.
and I didn't push him. I never pushed these guys. Yes, inside me, I always think.
Right.
When I look at Facebook and when I see all these graduation pictures and people throwing their
Their hats.
hats off
Yeah.
and all that, I think that why I am not there.
Yeah.
But that is me. I never went and took it on my
For sure.
children.
Yeah.
Or I did not go and show my disappointment with them, anger or anything. It's maybe I cried one day. Maybe I was part of it. Maybe it was tears. Maybe their mom had the same thing. But we never went and showed it to them saying
sure.
that, you have let us down or you have brought shame to us.
Exactly. Yeah.
We never showed that.
Yeah.
That they didn't. I know it happens in certain families.
For sure.
People, they do it, but not here. But then we gave them the time to come back. And both of them are into a phase where at 22 and 24, building their career now and, maybe it'll take some time, but at least it's what they wanted.
Want to do, yeah.
Yes, the global pandemic and this corona situation has not helped. It's pushed things back, but that is for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's, listening to you, maybe that's where the pressure is, where these people lead into all this, and it's very sad. I speak to a lot of people in the medical profession and everything, and they say that's the same thing. They say on a daily basis, youngsters lose their life. I have somebody who works with the youngsters, counseling and all that. He tells me stories of what he comes across.
Yeah.
And how the children are facing so many challenges, and it's good to know from you. So you always think it's pressure.
Yeah,
mostly it is pressure.
And also, like, schools don't talk about it. Like, we talk about this, we talk about depression, mental illness and all that, but not enough. And a lot of the times when things happen at school, it's never in the news. You never really hear about it unless it happens to someone that you know, which is a big problem.
Does universities also give pressure?
Absolutely.
Or they also have some leniency, or they have those counseling programs and everything?
They do, but most of the time it's a lot of pressure.
Just like always,
you got to hit this
marks,
GPA.
marks.
You need to be, seen as this student because you go to this school. It's all brand and prestige, right?
Lifestyle challenges or financial planning and all that doesn't come.
No.
But I think I saw somewhere that in the future they're going to bring this financial planning, right?
Yeah, to elementary schools. They're going to start teaching finance, which is very important for everyone. Yeah.
You think that, I'm sure that's going to make a big difference.
Big difference, yeah. Because, for me, I'm in business and I learned finance, but not personal finance. Not how to manage
how
my
much
own
impact
money.
is going to be that this working from home? If, for example, say this COVID is going to last for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And all these children in university or schools also have to stay at home and do online.
Yeah.
They do go to schools, but mostly it is online.
Online, yeah.
And how much impact is going to have? How much are they going to be behind, or they're going to go forward?
It's kind of scary with virtual for kids. I'm not sure how much they're grasping that information, right? There's a lot of distractions online, and especially like when you're in a classroom setting, it's, you're working towards a goal with all your peers versus now you're at home, stuck in a room, right? So it's also the environment that has a lot of impact.
And all the sports, everything is going on.
And you don't get to see anyone. You don't get to see your teacher, your friends. So even for me, working from home, it's challenging. So I can only imagine like little kids, what they're going through, having to be on Zoom calls and all that, right?
What about university students? They also all online. They also might be facing the same challenges.
Same challenges.
Nobody to talk to.
And so are you really learning when you're virtual, right? That's the question. It becomes like, how good is the teaching when it's online, when there's so many distractions around you, right? You lose the connections with humans. And I think that's a big thing. Even for me, I jumped into the workplace and I never got to see my manager, my coworkers. Everything's virtual, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it has to be. But I'm afraid that we might lose that human touch, which is really important to keep us going. So that's the biggest fear I have for
this.
For that.
Yeah, that's interesting. To learn how and or what our lifestyle direction we are going towards. In your work, how that pressure is like I'm sure everybody's working from home.
Yeah.
Do you see a future where they are? And also, you told me that you're in product marketing.
Yes.
And does product marketing really help from working from home?
So I think what most companies are pushing towards now is, if people can do this from home, why don't they just stay home? If it's more productive, you don't have to go to the office. You can do the job from home. Why not do it from home? And I've seen a lot of companies, they're making staff permanent working from home. And I think even for me, like, I can do my job from home, right? The only thing is the human relationship that you need with your coworkers. Maybe some some roles, like, if you're doing sales, you have to have customer facing roles. Those you got to go in. But now it's just like, everyone's looking at it like, if we can optimize the workforce to be from home, right? There's a lot of expenses that you get to cut down on. So maybe that's the way that it's going to go the next 5 years, right? We see a lot more positions that are, you can work from home. I've recently seen like Apple, you can be a technician from home, right? So maybe that's where the industry is going in the next 5 years.
Do you think it's good?
No, I don't think so. No. For me, it's all like, I come from a big sales background, right? So, you're interacting with customers and your coworkers. That's always going to be a big part of going into work, right? That's like, no matter how much you hate waking up at 8 o'clock, going on the 401, sitting in traffic, you get to at least see people. You build those relationships. That's always going to be crucial. And if we're taking that away, then we might be going backwards.
So now already there's a lot of complaints that we all look at our phones and sometimes the computers, and that's what we do without even looking at our working time.
Yeah.
People going to work, meeting people. I'm in sales, I go and meet customers and all that, but then still I have this complaint that I'm on the phone all the time, or I on my desktop, laptop looking at my computer and working. Now, if people are pushed towards that to spend most of their working time there or studying time there,
Yeah.
and in addition to that, this whatever they say, addiction of being in the computer, the time to interact with human,
it's very low.
It's very low.
Yeah.
It can be your family, your spouse, your brother, sister, your children, your neighbors, your friends. It's getting down. It's more interacting with the machine.
Exactly.
And don't you think that's a heavy negative thing that impacting the world?
And it's even worse because it's starting with kids, little kids that are on iPads, on tablets, on computers, right? So the fear is that, are we just replacing human relationships with these technologies? It's so easy to connect with someone online, right? You pick up the phone.
They're
and you
starting
FaceTime
something
someone.
called this coding, and I see this coding for young people. Small children.
Like, it's good. We're giving them the knowledge, very young, but at the same time, is it like, we're getting rid of the human relationships? Are we replacing it with new technology? Are we making it harder for us to communicate one-on-one with someone in person, right? People are just going to stay home and call someone or FaceTime. So
you're a fan of Raptors?
Sorry?
You're a fan of Raptors?
Raptors, yeah, I am.
So why do you think that, what are the changes going to happen next year?
With the NBA? Oh man, I don't know. Like this year they had fans on Zoom call. Like no one could go to the stadium, right? So I don't know, like for me, everything has to be in person. That's like, as much as technology goes.
I used to watch all these playoff games and prior to whatever they did in Florida.
It's not the same this year though.
It's not the same, right?
It didn't even feel like an NBA. Like you have people sitting on Zoom calls.
I'm a big cricket fan as well.
Yeah.
So I watch this IPL.
Yeah.
Which is called the Indian Premier League.
Yeah.
And there's something interesting that I saw this year was they are having this tournament. They normally have it in India.
Yeah.
And now they have it in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Sharjah. If you watch it on television, there is a lot of sound effects in the ground.
Right.
So say, for example, if you score well, if you do well, there is people cheering you, and if you get out, then the volume of low,
sound effects.
A lot of sound effects. So I have someone, a close friend of mine, who's a manager of, who's a head coach of one of the leading teams in IPL, the Mumbai Indians. And I sent him a message and asked him, I see these sound effects on television. And I asked him, is it that we are seeing it as a television viewer, that we are able to see? Is it for us?
Yeah.
Or for the players
in
the ground, are they listening to it?
Yeah.
I said, I believe it is for us, but if it is not for the players, I think that it should be.
Yeah.
Because they are already playing with empty stands.
Yeah.
At least this is going to...
It's going to motivate them.
them. And you know what he replied? He's saying it is for the players.
Wow.
So they take out the people, this COVID thing and all this has taken out the people who actually come to watch the games.
Yeah.
And now they are putting sound effects.
Yeah.
The sound effects, if you look at the sound effects, it looks like the stadium is full of people.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice it in NBA, but maybe they also might.
The cheering is the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's all sound effects.
It's all sound effects.
Sound effects. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And do you expect any player changes in the draft next year for Raptors?
I'm assuming so. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, even like this season, there was a lot of players that said they wouldn't play, right? So it felt like a lot of the teams, like maybe the whole team wasn't giving their full effort. Some of them weren't quarantining. Some of them were not willing to play. There was a lot of cases in the NBA overall. So I think maybe all that has, factors to play, right? Are people really playing that they're motivated to win, or are there things going on, right? And that's going to affect sports too. COVID's going to affect everything eventually.
There are relationships with the opposite partner is something also the youngsters are there.
Yeah.
And some have it short term. Some don't have. Some get married early.
Yeah.
Some are living together.
Yeah.
A lot of things are going on in this world. So are you right now seeing somebody, or you can talk about it?
Yeah. I have a girlfriend.
You have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
So how long have you been carrying on with that?
It's been about 6 years. So from high school.
From high school?
From high
That's
school.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So she is also graduated.
Yeah, she's in her last semester at Waterloo, finishing up school.
Oh, I don't know. Doing
Yeah.
what?
She's a GIS.
What does that
So it's a new program for geography.
Geography, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So, being in a relationship for 6 years, was it challenging or it was easy?
It was challenging because we were long distance, right? I was here and she was in Waterloo. So, communication is a big issue. Long distance is an issue. And then at the same time, how do you both pursue your own goals, but also still be together, right? And I think for us, we just kept pushing each other towards our own goals. Every time it's a challenge, we see the long run. And I think for me and her, we dated to see the long term, not for a short term.
Short term.
It was more long term. We knew that this is what we wanted, and we're gonna work together through this no matter what. So,
It's a good thing to have a
It's a
long
good
term
thing.
relationship
Yeah.
for so many years.
I think so, yeah.
It is?
Yeah, I think you really build that relationship with that person. You get to know them better. You get to know their family. And if you're that serious, it's good for sure. But again, it doesn't work for everyone, right?
I think very rarely people have 6 years of, from
Yeah.
going on. Very
Yeah.
rarely.
But I don't think time really means much, right? Like there's people that dated 10 years and they break up and don't get married,
Yes, I know.
right? So it's not about time, but more about communication, trust. Are you working towards your own goals? Like stuff like that, right? She knows that I have my career aspirations. I want to build my career, and I respect the same
So
for
when
her.
when you say career, I'm sure all of us, like you, me, all of us here,
Everyone.
we all have short-term goals and
Yeah.
long-term as well.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself on that?
In that, I think so. Right now, I'm in a graduate leadership program at Bell. So it's a 2-year program and
It's like management training.
leadership training almost.
Leadership
Yeah.
training. Okay.
So you get to try different roles around the company to really figure out what path you want to take. And for me, I came out of marketing, but there's so much you can do with that. So I want to really narrow down, do I want to do marketing? Do I want to do maybe more coding? Really figure out what my avenue is. So that's why I jumped into this program. That's my short term, right? And more long term, the next 5 years, I definitely want to get my MBA. I think it's something that's going to help me in the future if I want to move up the company or go up to a senior position. And there's a lot of network opportunities when you get your MBA with other students or your professor. There's a lot of networking exposure, which I think is really crucial at this age. And that's one of the reasons I've been so active on LinkedIn. I think that really helps people reach out to other recruiters. It lets you stand out. You're not just another resume, right? You can actually talk to people, get to see faces, see what are other people doing? What are they accomplishing? What are some struggles people are having, right? So that's why I've been really pushing towards being active on LinkedIn. It's helped me get jobs, part-time jobs. I actually got my full-time job through LinkedIn as well. You get to see what are the jobs, where's the industry going, right? I think that's really useful there. So I've been trying to put my presence
When
up
you're
there.
in your working career, is there any limitation for your earnings, or you can always earn more? You think that someone who is pursuing a career through studies and now getting a job, they should stand there, or they can do something outside as well that will bring them more income?
Well, for me, after going through school, I don't think school was the biggest, helper for me. It was all those part-time jobs that helped me to where I am right now. And you can always move up. That can be laterally, horizontally. You can get another source of income, right? And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that it's not just about doing your 9 to 5 job. You can make money from home. Just find what you're passionate about, and there's ways to do it. You can be a YouTuber, you can be a gamer, you can live stream, you can be an artist. If you're into music, you can do music production, right? There's so many different avenues. So again, it's all about that social stigma that we have to break. It's not just about a 9 to 5 job and you can have a happy life. I don't think a 9 to 5 is going to pay, right? With the housing market conditions right now, let's say that you have no capital. How are you going to buy a house, right? Where are you going to go for that down payment? So you really have to break those different sources of income. And again, do what you're really passionate about, right? Your 9 to 5 can be what you study, but what you do on the side can be what you're interested in.
I have an advice, those who are looking for additional income,
Yeah,
they should contact me. They can become insurance advisors,
of
financial
course.
advisors.
Yeah,
That's something they can always do in part-time.
exactly. And I guess I had a question for you. So what's been your journey as a financial advisor, and what kind of made you start a podcast?
So I have been in insurance for the last 6 years. And my specialty is I deal with life and health.
Yeah.
That's life insurance and health insurance. And I was part of a brokerage. But in my 5 years, I think thanks to God, I did pretty well in my career. And then in this year, when I got to sit at home and think about all this during this global pandemic, that's when I thought that, I should have my own brokerage.
Yeah.
And my own brokerage, I had always had the name for it. Whenever I thought that when I start a company one day, this is going to be the name. That's Agape Life. Agape means it's unconditional love. It's a Greek word, but a biblical name. And then that's when I decided to have my brokerage, the name for it. The journey has been pretty good. You see, when you are able to help clients, and when life happens to them, so they lose somebody or they get critically ill, and then when they have this financial protection that I was able to advise them and give them at that time.
Right.
So that really brings the satisfaction into our work that we do.
Yeah.
And when I started my journey, I had this tagline saying, "When life happens, how prepared are you?" The podcast of When Life Happens title came from that.
Right.
So when you say when life happens, how prepared are you? My job is to prepare you when life happens.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think this, you don't have to go far. This COVID-19 is a clear example of life happened to everybody.
For sure. Yeah.
Many lost their loved ones. Many lost jobs. Many were ill.
Yeah.
And how did everybody face it? What situations it is? And it's for you as well. You had many, listening to you, for you also had many stages that life happened to you.
Yeah.
You had to fight it. Even now today, when this life happen to everyone through COVID, again, you have to come out of it.
Exactly.
Come out of it. And in my journey, so that has been the satisfaction that I got. And now through this brokerage, I think that I might be able to get more advisors to join me.
For sure.
Mentor them and develop them as good financial advisors who can go out there and carry the same tagline and say, prepare people when life happens.
Yeah.
In terms of podcasts, there are different ways of reaching out to people.
Yeah.
It is not all about saying, life insurance is good for you, critical illness is good for you. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about reaching out to people and sending a message. And that messages can be with advice.
Yeah.
The messages can be with, advice with different areas. It is not always with insurance.
For sure.
Not at always. Say, for example, let's go back to our conversation with you, and you are talking about financial discipline, how to plan yourself, how to loan. That takes message to thousands of young children.
Yeah.
What more benefit can you get than sending a message like this through someone like you, instead of going and talking about insurance to them?
Yeah.
You get me?
For sure.
That message our conversation will be benefit for so many parents.
Yeah.
Isn't it better to have that kind of conversation than having insurance? So insurance is there. That's my life.
Yeah.
That's bread and butter, but then that's not all about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. So podcast was able to bring that and meet people with different walks of life,
Yeah.
different industries. A lot of people don't come out and it's not an interview that you just speak
Yeah.
to people and it's a television show and things like that. It's a podcast.
Yeah.
People who come in may not have had have you been in any shows before?
This is my first one as well.
Yeah. Yes. But so it's a conversation that you
Yeah.
have, so you don't have to feel pressure about it. And send a message out. Every show, the idea is to at least have one message
For sure.
that might be helpful to
To others, yeah.
people. And by doing that, yes, the Agape Life and the TR podcast will get to people and get to, and then that through them, they'll get to know me as well.
Yeah.
And that was an idea of starting the TR podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't know where we are going to go from here, but hope is to go as much as possible a long period of time and see how benefits are, and we may not see the results now. We may not get immediate feedback,
For sure.
but in time to come, we are going to listen more from many.
Yeah.
And I hope we may meet again. In a
For sure.
different
Yeah.
in a different topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, like I've heard everything from you, and I think it was great to listen to you. And I'm sure many who will be listening, your colleagues, your friends, the parents, many who will be listening to this show would also take something out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm 100% confident that it's going to be very, very helpful. And I have a small. It was nice having you in the show, actually.
Thank you.
In the podcast, and I don't know where we are in the timings, but I think I've spoken a lot. It was really nice having you, and I have a small gift for you.
Thank you.
And I hope you like it.
Let's check it out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really nice.